Cece, thank you. Now, I want to bring in just a bit of background to what led up to the events that we are seeing unfolding right now in Venezuela. The US strikes come despite Caracas signaling its willingness to talks. On Friday, President Nicolas Maduro said Venezuela was willing to negotiate a deal with the United States to combat drug trafficking. In the last few months, the US has attacked at least 35 boats they accuse of transporting drugs in the Caribbean and the Eastern Pacific since early September. And at least 115 people have been killed in those strikes. And since August, the US has significantly increased its military presence near Venezuela, deploying more than 15,000 soldiers to the region. So let's bring in Shihab Ratanzi here. He's in Washington for us. Shihab, this attack in many ways was telegraphed long before it actually happened. We've just run through the recent background there. But no one thought that this was going to happen, that the US was going to capture Maduro. But the question I want to ask you is, there are still splits within the Trump administration. There are MAGA, who doesn't want foreign interventions, doesn't want foreign wars, but there are those people who want regime change. How do you think Trump has managed all of that to get to this quite unprecedented place we're in right now?
I think what's going to be key then is what rationale he gives at the press conference at Mar-a-Lago at 11 a.m. local, because it is clear that there is this has the potential of splitting up the MAGA coalition. The whole point was no more endless wars, no more regime change wars like Iraq, for example. However, there is always the possibility that they will present this as a law enforcement operation. And by all accounts, the vice president is still, is in charge. She gave this audio address on VTV, on state TV. She requested proof of life of Nicolas Maduro and his wife. And she says the situation is calm right now, but multiple military personnel have been killed. We heard from the defense minister vowing a struggle, but there is always the possibility that this is going to be presented simply as a law enforcement operation, and the regime and one of the Venezuelan government remains largely intact, and the vice president now takes over. It's interesting, though, that Donald Trump has given a phone interview with the New York Times now, very brief. He celebrated the success of the mission capture. He said a lot of good planning and a lot of great troops and great people, he said, were involved. It was a brilliant operation, actually. And when asked if he had sought congressional authority for the operation or what is next for Venezuela, Mr. Trump said he would address these matters during that news conference at 11 a.m. at Mar-a-Lago at his private club and residence in Palm Beach, Florida. 11 a.m., 12, 1, 2, 3, 4. So 1600 GMT, Imran, you probably know that better than me, but yeah, just in a few hours' time.